Down in the description below, I have a link to my new third channel, Realm of Geekdom, where I'm going to be uploading all of my classic podcasts, along with new episodes coming out very soon, where I'm going to have some crazy interviews, stuff that I promise you're not expecting. Over there at Realm of Geekdom, the link is down below. Give me a subscription, check out some of the shows we have on there, and there's tons more to come on that channel. Now, let's get to the video. The History of Trunks TV special, one of the most beloved Dragon Ball stories. A lot of Dragon Ball fans love it, and on today's video we're going to have a discussion, myself, and I'm joined by Mike from Laughingstock Media, and we're going to compare the manga story to the anime story. In the manga, Toriyama wrote a special one-shot called The Story of Trunks. The anime became Dragon Ball Z TV special number 2, The History of Trunks, and we're going to be comparing the two. So Mike, welcome again.
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughingstock Media. How's it going?
And overall,
in this video,
go ahead.
And in this video, I'm looking forward to dissecting one of my absolute favorite main characters in the Dragon Ball franchises, backstory, and the real setup for one of my favorite arcs of all time.
Yeah, right. Now, I want to say that over on Mike's channel, we did a very similar companion video to this, where it's him and I talking about the Bardock special compared to Toriyama's version, which was Dragon Ball Minus. So we're going to be discussing that on his channel. Check that out, because that's another good discussion too. So we're kind of comparing what Toriyama did to what Toei did on both videos. So let's get to it. The story of Trunks is supposed to be depressing. It's supposed to be sad. It didn't come out until after Cell had already become perfect. It didn't even come out like earlier in the arc, but it makes sense as to why. Not the only, there's a few small differences here and there. The only major difference is that in the TV special version, Trunks becomes a Super Saiyan after Gohan dies. If you remember, it's that classic scene where Gohan's face down with the water dripping, Trunks snaps into Super Saiyan, and then he goes to fight 17 and 18 at the end and gets his ass kicked, and then chooses to go back in time. The story of Trunks, he's already a Super Saiyan. And a lot of folks I've seen lately say they prefer that because it shows that Gohan helped Trunks do it as opposed to Trunks failing to do it. So, Mike, your thoughts on this change, and which one do you like more and why?
That's a really great question. Now, in terms of the original version that Toriyama wrote, it starts off with us seeing base Gohan fighting against Super Saiyan Trunks, which you kind of have to wonder, how is that even possible? You know, that Trunks was so weak even as a Super Saiyan at that point compared to just base Gohan. But with that being neither here nor there, the fact of the matter is the narrative significance. And whereas the original version Toriyama wrote actually makes more sense within the fact that we see Kid Trunks in the main timeline also become a Super Saiyan at a very young age. The fact of the matter is I feel like it has more weight to it in the special when he becomes a Super Saiyan after he witnesses Gohan dying. Because rather than him just kind of becoming a Super Saiyan through training off screen that we never really get to experience firsthand, him seeing his master dead face down in this pool of water and blood simultaneously and just losing it, freaking out and snapping, really feels so much more significant than when we see Trunks kind of like power up in the main timeline and, oh, I guess I'll become a Super Saiyan, and he runs around and it's a Super Saiyan bargain sale, or like a lot of the more modern iterations of people becoming a Super Saiyan. This one really feels like it has more weight to it. It feels like it is kind of that desperation, that anger, that rage that he gives into in that moment of real depression and defeat at the death of his best friend, and kind of like a father figure in Gohan. So I tend to prefer that version, actually.
Right. And I will say this, I agree with you. I've talked to a lot of fans throughout the years, and Trunks' Super Saiyan transformation is in that special is a lot of people's favorite. It's not my favorite because I thought it was maybe not as artistic as like Gohan going SS2 or Goku's first transformation on Namek, but it does hold a lot more emotional weight. Just Trunks walking up and he's crying, and then seeing Gohan with the eyes blank. It's phenomenal. I also really enjoy in the special the fight with Gohan versus 17 and 18. I like how he tries to get the advantage, but 17 and 18 is 2 against 1. and they're just too powerful for him. I like the amusement park fight, and I really enjoy the Trunks fight with 17 and 18 at the end of the special, because
Yeah.
the way that they directed it, the way that they put it together, I really love it because it's almost like a horror movie. There was a lot of aspects that were taken right from horror, like when Trunks is trying to hide and he has the
Yeah.
mirror and he sees that like 18, I think it was 18 was behind him. Like there's a lot of really creative shots that they use here that were not in the manga, or that were not they had never used again. Like they just never did stuff like this ever again. And they've done situations where you have scary villains, like Frieza, for example, Bang and Dende dies. They've done this before, but
Yeah.
here it really felt this incredible sense of dread and hopelessness, because when you're watching this, you already know the outcome. You already know Trunks is not going to win this fight. You already
Yeah.
know that, but they still managed to keep it somewhat interesting. So, what do you think about the fights, manga versus anime?
Yeah, again, I would have to give it to the anime. The thing is, like you said, they really do have more of that hopelessness and horror aspect. Although with the Gohan fight in the manga, it is even more hopeless versus heroic. Whereas in the anime, Gohan's fighting both the androids at the same time until they kind of use the numbers game to defeat him. Whereas in the manga, he just gets killed immediately because 17 reveals, oh, I didn't even use half my power the last time we fought. He rushes him. Gohan knows he's gonna die. You look at that expression in his face. 18 gives that evil smile, and then they just find his dead body. Whereas in the special, it's a lot more heroic, which, I definitely understand why they went in that direction, although it does kind of make Gohan seem a little too strong in a sense. But at the same time, what I will say is that a lot of the fights in the anime special are fleshing out things that Toriyama never showed us. We never saw
Right.
Trunks fight against the androids in the very end of the fight or the chapter. This is all just one chapter, in the manga. It's like a half chapter basically. So they just skip ahead to him in the hospital. We never see Gohan lose his arm in the manga. They just kind of reference it. So many things they fill in the blanks for and make even better in the special, and the fights are definitely one of those.
Yeah, and History of Trunks, and we've talked about this before. It's not a movie. It's a 1 hour special with commercials that aired in the time slot Dragon Ball Z was in, which is 7 p.m. Wednesday nights, and it had commercials and all that. So it comes out to about 42 minutes or so without commercials. And I'm making that point to say that they had time with with the two-parter, with the hour-long time limit they had time to add those things in. Whereas I feel like if they had just adapted it the way that the manga was, it would have just been like a 22-minute episode, and there was not much substance to it. They held a lot of emotional weight. You see some side characters. I love the scene at the beginning where they're all gathering around Goku, and Goku's in bed from the heart virus. Gohan's freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. Gohan, of course, showed up late. We see the Z Fighters getting killed. The anime version to me is just better in every way. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. It's better in every way. Like they took what Toriyama did and improved upon it in a tenfold. And one of the good things they did too, which has been a mistake they've made in the past with other adaptations of Dragon Ball or even other manga, is that they didn't create plot holes. They didn't make enough changes here where you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense, like they did in other episodes of the past. Here, it's literally what Toriyama wrote, except with added stuff, more fights, more dialogue, more backstory, and it all fits in. The story of Trunks manga chapter to me is just, an easy read, but if I have to pick between that or the special wins, undoubtedly. How do you feel about the closing song, Aoi Kaze no Hope, which is the Blue Wind of Hope? Beautiful song, great way to close the special,
Yeah.
and made it feel more important. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that song is great, and really that whole closing sequence with the credits, really kind of gives us great connective tissue and makes everything feel more hopeful, because after all these losses that Trunks just took, we see the kind of flashbacks are really flash forwards for Trunks in a sense of him killing Frieza and King Cold and everything moving forward, that all of these losses that Trunks took, all this horrible stuff that happened in his future, everyone getting killed, still amounted to a good positive outcome. That he was still able to take that and become the hope that the future timeline and the main timeline would need in order to survive, in order to thrive. So that's really one of the things I love about the Trunks story and that entire arc in general, which is the themes, the concepts, and like you said, I think that the special just did everything better. It's like the anime for the most part. I feel like Toei was just on their A game this whole time period, and they just nailed it time after time after time and enhanced everything that Toriyama created.
No argument there. The only final point I want to make is one of the things that I wish they had done is Dragon Ball Z episode 194 when Trunks goes back to the future and kills 17, 18, and Cell. That should have been a 1 hour special. It would have been nice if you had the special of Trunks in the future going back and, Gohan dying, future Bulma when he goes back. And then you also had another special where it's an hour long of Trunks going back to the future, talking to his mom, getting reaccustomed, telling her how Vegeta was, telling her all the things that happened, fighting 17 and 18, and then eventually first form Cell. I would have appreciated that so much more. That would have been awesome. So, check out Mike and our video on his channel about Bardock versus Dragon Ball Minus. Take care.